Good morning and welcome to Valley Life Family Worship Center. We love you guys that are watching on TV, listening on radio, on your laptops, on your telephone, whatever way you're communicating with us. We say we welcome you to our service, and I hope you're enjoying the series we've been doing. How do you define success? We're doing part 3. Believe it or not, I don't even do part 2s a lot, but out of all the years, I'm usually because I always want something fresh every Sunday. But this is fresh every Sunday. It is defining how do you define success in your life, and we are always excited. Make a comment on Facebook or where you're watching, where you're listening. If you need to talk to me, you can text me at dondragon@icloud.com. You can phone me. My number's on the screen. You can ask me a question. We get phone calls. We do get texts. We do get everything. And it's always good to hear and where you're from. We always like to know where you're watching from. And that encourages our body as well, where you're coming to hear us from. So today we're going to do Part 3, how do you define success? And we're going to have Grant come up, and he's going to share for the next 45 minutes. I'm just exaggerating by about 40 probably, but he's going to come up and share a few things.
Anyway, how do you define success? And I figured that was going to be really easy. Well, you decide to do something and you do it. You're successful. I guess there's a lot more to it. If you look at the dictionary definition, success either is an outcome, either good or bad, which a person has with respect to a particular situation or activity. Did you achieve what you set out to achieve? In what? Relationships? Did you have relationships that were going haywire and fix them up? You were successful. Did you have financial difficulties but you overcame them? You were successful. You wanted to accumulate a whole bunch of things, a house and cars and 6 skidoos and whatever. Did you do that? You were successful. Not that it was right, but you were successful. Or did you run a business? And was it profitable? So that was the success. Are you happy with your life? Which means probably you were successful. Do you have lots of stuff? I know we have lots of stuff, but that's not a good thing. We've got to get rid of lots of stuff. Did you do a lot of travel? Was that something you were setting out to do? You have lots of money. I mean, it's useful. Money is something that you can use to do other things with. So you accomplished. You were successful. So this is a list that you create for yourself so that you can determine if you can see if you're a success or not. It's whatever list you want. It's in your own mind, and let's also talk about what other people think. It doesn't really matter what other people think if you're successful or not. It's in your mind that you need to decide whether you're a success. You don't care what other people think. Maybe they have nothing and you have something, and to them you're a success. Doesn't matter. You have to consider yourself to be a success. But being a success doesn't necessarily mean you're happy. You may not be happy. So what's happiness? So, definition of happiness is a state of pleasurable contentment. Contentment of your mind, deep pleasure, or contentment in your circumstances. You're just happy with it. I mean, you've all felt that. There's a familiar word, isn't there, in there, and it's called contentment. What does the Bible have to say about contentment? Paul writes in Philippians 4:11, he was thanking them for gifts that the Philippians had sent. He says, I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content in whatever the circumstances are. So contentment is a choice. You choose to be content. It's not about having your problems disappear, but about not letting any temporary situations control your confidence or inner peace. Paul says in Philippians 4:13 that he could do all things through Christ who gives him strength to do it. So it involves cultivating a thankful spirit, focusing on what you have and not what you lack. Because we all have things, and there are those that have way less. There are those that have more, so be content with what you have, not looking at something, oh, I want that. You'll never be happy. One needs to be aware of Paul's circumstances. He was content. But where was he? Where was Paul when he wrote this letter? He was in jail in Rome waiting to be executed. And he could say, I'm content. Would you be content under those circumstances? Sitting behind bars waiting for however they're going to do you in? Paul has more to say about whatever situation or whatever circumstances you're experiencing. As he writes to the Philippians, he says, rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always. And he said it again, rejoice. And we come to another scripture which happens to be my favorite. And that's Philippians 4:6-7. Paul says, don't be anxious about anything. Don't worry about anything. Don't fret about anything. But in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, that means thanksgiving for what you do have, or your current situation, present your requests to God, and the peace which transcends all understanding. You got peace and you can't figure out how come you're so peaceful. It'll guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. So you need a goal, and you need to work towards achieving it. Being content at all stages, no matter what the circumstances are at that stage that you're in, so that at the end you can say, as Paul writes in Timothy, in 2 Timothy 4:7, he has fought the good fight. He has finished the race. I have kept the faith. And he's finished the race. He's successful. You have achieved what you set out to do for the kingdom. You're content through it all. and you have peace in your heart. That's my definition of success.
I'm going to ask Lorraine to come up, and she's going to say a few words on behalf of Rose.
Thank you, Pastor Don. Now, I haven't actually had a chance to talk to Rosemary about what she wrote. She's a little shy about being on camera, so I might put a few words in your mouth, and I'm hoping that they're the right ones. Yeah, she called this "What I Did for God." She starts by saying, "I talked to people and told them how God helped me. In the past, He kept me safe from destroying myself by alcohol abuse. He kept her sane and made her realize how things would have went if she had kept it up. She says today she loves helping when she has been able to, and right now she's waiting for knee surgery, so she's having a hard time getting around, but she says she can't wait until she can again. She started coming to the church here in Minnedosa in 1997, and at some point, and I don't know, this is where we haven't talked because I can't remember, I've been here, Grant and I have been here for 16 years, so it's before this. She became a Christian, and she was able to give up alcohol. So she's been clean ever since, and I have been, yeah, I know everybody has little slip-ups, but yeah, you've been clean ever since. Let's just say that. And that, I've had the pleasure of watching Rose and Richard grow in the Lord, and of her becoming more outgoing in sharing things about what she believes. So she says, and one of the things that she struggles with is that she has trouble reading. And so because she has a hard time reading the Bible, and so she gives up, and she knows she should read it more. I'm sure many of us say the same thing. But she knows she needs to read more, and she says convincing people to read is hard, but I tell them to. So she encourages people to do the same, and that's awesome. And then there's always the opportunity to put an app on your phone where the app will read to you, right? Make it a lot easier, and some people like to read along with that in their Bible. Rose says that praying for someone else is easier for her. Rose admits that giving up would have been easier for her, but she hasn't. She's so thankful for her husband, for her family, her kids, her grandkids, for her friends. And most of all, she's thankful for God's forgiveness. It's helped her a lot throughout the years. And one of the things that it's helped her to do, and is that when people ask her questions, she can answer some of them now at her ability. And that's very precious because it comes from the heart. And I knew Rose when she found that super hard. People would say stuff to her, and she said, and I didn't know what to say. And now she's finding her voice. And she's able to share things with them at her level, and that's awesome. So I hear in her story that she's successful because she overcame alcohol. God helped her with that. She had Glenda, who helped her through that period of time, I know, from conversations over the years. She's successful because she has a family she loves that God has given her, and grandchildren. She's successful because she can help in the church. She's successful because now she can share God with other people, and God gives her words to be able to do that. And this isn't something that any of us do. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some people are, just right away they become born again and they start sharing and sharing and sharing. But for a lot of us, especially those of us who are shy, and that includes myself, believe it or not, even though I'm standing up here, you have to learn how to do that, right? You have to grow in that, and that's success. So thank you, Rose, so much for sharing your words with us today. And thank you, Pastor Don.
Well, that was a lot of great testimonies of our church family that you get to watch 3 different episodes of How Do You Define Success, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. And I hope you just enjoy each person that spoke. And there's a few that were a little shy, so that wasn't our whole church, but it was a percentage of our church. And I'm glad that you were able to hear that. So I'm going to share a little bit from the Word of God, and also how I also want to define. And a lot of it has been talked about, and which is great. You know, it doesn't hurt when you hear different people share. And I'm going to break mine up into 2 different points today of success. I guess growing up not knowing God, I'm grateful for He first found me. My heart was open even despite my life, what it looked like. And I should have been dead. I should not have been here to even be a minister. I overdosed really badly one time, and it wasn't at the Iron Maiden concert, which was one of them. But I was at a friend's place, and I took bennies at work. And around 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, between 7 and 9 o'clock that evening, I was at my good friend's place, and I overdosed. I literally was ready. I was soaking wet. I said to my best friend's sister, who was in the other room, talk to me. I want to hear a voice. I wanted to, because my body was ready to leave this earth. And I was backslidden, and I didn't call out to Jesus. But Jesus called out to me and let me, just snapped of his fingers. I came out, and I was just I was just on the floor, just a puddle of water. I was just soaking wet. So God had a plan. And I'm grateful for that plan. God blessed me with a beautiful wife. And I was just sharing to our congregation today would have been 40 years of marriage. We lasted 38 3/4 years. Glenda went to be with Jesus. But God blessed me with the perfect person in the whole wide world for me. He really did. I couldn't ask for a better person to have my life with. And he blessed us with 3 lovely daughters who all love Jesus. And they're all going through their things, but they love Jesus. And I call that success. It says in the Word, on Proverbs 22, verse 6, it says, train up a child in the ways they should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. She will not depart. We were able to take our kids to church every Sunday morning. I went to one of our elders. I'm like you, Chris and Nikki. I know you're just recently new here, but I went to one of my board members, and I had 3 girls, and I said, why am I coming to church? They are a handful. Like, they cry and all this stuff, and you're trying, and they're worshiping God, and I'm thinking, honestly, train them up in the ways of the Lord. And, like they're children, they're babies. They do whine. And not only did we go Sunday mornings all the time, we were faithful to go every single Sunday night. We never missed a Sunday night. We wrapped them all up, and away we went. Sunday morning, Sunday night, clockwork continually. Even though I had to get up 7 o'clock in the morning to go to work, Monday, didn't matter. And if we were at church till 10 o'clock at night, didn't matter. Those services sometimes lasted long. So train them up in the ways of the Lord, and they shall not depart. I'm grateful for that. And we were able to watch our kids and our family grow in the Lord. And I tried the best as I could to put my family before the church once we became pastors of Valley Life Family Worship Center. I was lucky to be able to spend the time that I could with my kids. Being a smaller church, it gave us opportunity to spend time with them. I call that success. Part of our ministry from the beginning always has been children. And we had children when we came here, but there was no children in the church. It was a little problem, I guess. So we decided we started to have a children's church ministry, and we started on Friday night around 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock. And all I can remember because it goes back to 1994, so it's always hard to remember, but I can clearly recall in 1994 when we did our Harvest Fest, which we probably had a different name for it. I remember exactly we had 13 kids, and we had a games night, we decided, and I remember having this green carpet, and we had it across this floor here, and the kids were putting. So we were and we had different games for the kids to play. We had fishing for candy. Dennis Shoemaker, a good friend of mine, back in the early 90s too, helped build that fishing area for us, and the kids just loved it. I'm watching those 13 kids grow, and now they're adults by far, and I call that success. And then, as we look now, we're doing children's ministry still. And we have, not all at once, but we have had up to through the year from September, October when we start till end of May when we end approximately, we've had 50 kids come through here. Maybe some only come once, maybe some only come twice, but we've had that many come through the doors. And I call that success. And because they learned about Jesus. And really, that's what it's all about. So I was able to teach my kids, and at the same time, all their friends came, and they got to all learn about Jesus as well. And what can you ask for? Because kids will draw kids, youth will draw youth, adults will draw adults. So that's always have been a highlight for myself and Glenda, is watching it grow. And when we talked about Harvest Fest, when we started at 13 kids, we had it here for several years, and then it just somehow outgrew. You can't put a lot of kids in here, even though we had pews, and we were moving them upstairs. I'm not kidding you, because we had to make room. So two to three times a year, we'd grab these pews and carry them upstairs and bring them downstairs. And what a workout! But we outgrew it. There wasn't enough room in this area, and so we moved it to the Anglican church basement. We moved it to the Covenant church basement. And we outgrew both places, and eventually, till this day, we have it at the community center. And with adults and children, I think we've been as high as almost 300 people. I call that success. Praise God. So children has been a big part of ministry for myself, as well as Glenda, who's now with Jesus in heaven. Now I want to get into a little bit of I want to shift it a little bit now, just a little bit. If you want a good story about Nehemiah, you'll have to go on YouTube and listen to Lorraine Kaiser. She shares a really good story on the book Nehemiah. I'm just going to bring out a couple points that I feel which defines success for me personally, and but I want to talk just a little bit about Nehemiah, just a real outline. He was a wine taster. You know what? He tasted the food. Do you know why he tasted the food? Because if it was poisoned, guess who would die first? Yeah, no kidding, eh? How would you like that job? I'm going to taste it before the king, because if I die, then he doesn't die. And that was part of it too, because if somebody wants to get rid of you, they could try. But Nehemiah, seen there was a need in Jerusalem, the walls that were burnt down. He was saddened in his heart. And one day he went before the king, and the king noticed that he was sad. And the king asked, "What's wrong, Nehemiah?" And he explained to him, "You know what? In my land, they burnt the walls down." And he says, "What would you like, Nehemiah?" And he said, "You know what? I would like to go and rebuild the walls again." I don't know what it would look like. It's like saying to us today, we're going to just pretend it's the first day and we never heard of it before. Pretend that you're hearing it for the first time. We're going to build a youth drop-in center for the very first time this morning. And you look at each other. Like, where did you get that from, Pastor Don? Come on. Like, the king heard it for the first time. And I was thinking about this for a second. He prepared the way. Nehemiah says, "Hey, I need certain letters. I need material for this to work," and so forth. And I was starting to think about this last 3 weeks. I said, are we in the same situation as Nehemiah is in a way? We need a game plan. And the game plan is we need to look into everything that needs to be done for this facility to be built. As also as Nehemiah looked, he says, "Hey, I'm going ahead of time, and I need to go and prepare stuff before I even get there." He went to go check it out at nighttime, so he isn't being watched. Hey, what do I need? He got letters from the king saying, "Hey, can you write these certain letters for me so when I go, I'm not going to have any obstacles in my way?" We did the same thing. We went to the town, we had some meetings right here at Valley Life Family Worship Center. We found out, could we do this? Can we build right where we're at? And the answer was, after all the homework we had to go through, the answer was yes, you're free to go. And then land title and all the different things that had to get done and this and this. And it wasn't just like, oh, we're just going to build a building. There was a lot of stuff. And then we had to go and say, okay, you're good to go. Then we say, where do we start? We're good to go. Then we talked to, I believe it was 6 or 7 different engineers. Some were, me and Peter went to a bunch in Brandon. Some of them came here, and so forth. We went, and it's like Nehemiah. He went and he says, what needs to get done? Same with us. What needs to get done? And God provided for Nehemiah. And I believe in the same aspect, God will provide for us. This is just a little bit different, but it's still on the same topic. Do you know we've just really, as Valley Life, have just taken it out to the public about fundraising since last February, Valentine's Day. We began to go out there and say, hey, we knew as a church a little bit beforehand. We raised a little bit of money ahead of time. Not a lot, but a little bit. But we went to the public and said, this is what we're going to do. Just like Nehemiah, this is what we're going to do. And Nehemiah had some obstacles. Hey, we want to kill you. Ha ha, we don't want that wall to be. There are people that are going to say, you know what? You're not going to succeed, Pastor Don. You're not going to succeed, Valley Life. We don't want to see. There are negative people out there that do not want to see any good thing happen in Minnedosa. But we know God has called us to build this youth drop-in center. And can I say within a year and a half of taking it out to the public, we are approximately $220,000 has been raised. $220,000. I'd say that's pretty good. That's a good start. I'd rather go to people and say, hey, we have 220 than saying we have 30,000. They look at you, hey, you got a ways to go. It just is a little easier, I think now. I think it's another stepping. So praise God for that. So sometimes we have opposition. Nehemiah, after it was all said and done for, took 52 days to build the wall. And Peter did a really good job on the plan. And I sent it out to a whole bunch of people, Peter. I individually... in a textbook on my messenger. Boom, 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 boom. I was just sending it to certain people because I wanted them to listen to what our plan was. I thought it was well presented. And basically, if you haven't heard it, every year is going to double. So we started at 100,000 in 2025. We hit the goal. 2025. It's going to double, so we're believing for 200,000. 200 and 100 and 300,000 by the end of this year. We're on target. We're going to hit it, continue on, and then double and double, a few more doubles, and we're going to get the spade out, and we're going to build this youth drop-in center. Isn't that exciting? I think it's great for the young people. It's for the youth of the community. I call that success. I really do. I said all that to say this. I do. I call that success because we always believed in children and youth. That's been part of our DNA, that we really want to be able to be out there for young people to be able to come in. And it's going to do so much more, but that's a big part of it. Now I'm going to shift it to my second part of my journey of how do I define success? And I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to explain it. It's found in Luke chapter 10, and I'm going to read a few verses from verses 25 to 37 this morning. And for me personally, this is part 2 of how I define success. On one occasion, the expert of the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? He replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. You have answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this, and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place, he saw him pass by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey and brought him to the inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you any extra expense you may have. Which of the 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? The expert of the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. And Jesus told him, go and do likewise. I always have had a heart, my whole life, if there's a need out there, I try to be able to be a light to that need. And there's so many things over the years at Valley Life that we were able to do that I don't know how many homeless people we've touched. Seriously, there's been a lot of people that needed food. And I shared the story, there was a van full of young people. They needed food, and we went to Kim's Grocery at the time, and we bought burgers and food, and we barbecued them and got fruit trays Glenda was making, and I was working on them, and we were able to feed the whole family, and away they went. That's, I call, success. There are many people that have come by and say, Pastor Don, we try to check them out the best we can. I don't have a place to stay. I don't know how many times over the years we just, either the church or myself would say, hey, let's book a room for a night, let them have a night where they can have a place to stay, and then they can go, it's just like the innkeeper. Have a place to stay. They might have a breakfast. Some places have breakfast. You'll have a breakfast in the morning and away you go. And I call that success. There might be a neighbor. There might be somebody that's in a need. It might be a simple thing. It doesn't always have to be money. It could be a word of encouragement. It could going to the jail and speaking into people's lives. It doesn't matter what it is. I call that success. I've had opportunity over the years. I visited the jail ministry many times years ago and ministered to some of the people, shared a bit of my testimony inside in Brandon Penitentiary. There's been different ministries that I've been able to do over the years, and I'm grateful for every. I never even wrote them all down, but as I think about these things, I'm grateful to God that He has opened doors for it. But for me personally, family and children have always been my highlight, and helping people wherever they may be has been probably right there. And I'm grateful for how God has opened the door, and just as this person was. You know what? We got to be careful. Sometimes there could be a need, and I don't like being used, because sometimes there's a need and there's being used. You got to define that. If somebody says, Don, I need something from you, and it's not a need and it's something, I don't mind trying to help somebody once, but if it's, what's your reason for that need? So I do. I want, if it's a genuine need, I try. But if it's continually, I have a need, well, you're not, Pastor Don's done. I can't run to that need. They have to learn how to figure some things out themselves. That's just life in general. I think sometimes you can help somebody, and I think it's great to help somebody, but when somebody just wants, I hate the word use you, but sometimes people will drain you and use you for things. So you got to be careful at the same time. But you know what? I'm grateful that we have giftings. We talked about that. We have talents. My very first part of it, we have talents. We all have giftings. Let's never bury the giftings that God has given us. Let's use what God has given us. It's for His glory. We all see my giftings is going to be different than your giftings, and your giftings are going to be different than your brothers and sisters' giftings. We all have different giftings, but when we put them all together, we bring success to the world we live in. Can you see that? Because each one of you shared a great testimony. Each one of you shared what your giftings, what you feel God has called you to do. And if I asked you if you wanted to share more, there's probably other things that you could have brought up as well. I know that. But as we have all these successful stories for the glory of God, we put them together and go out there and let our light shine before man. So we're not there bragging, look at me. That's not what it's all about. But it's about Him. I like what I read earlier to the rich ruler. We need to love the Lord our God with all our heart, might, soul, and strength. Just everything. And then love our neighbor as ourself. You know what we do? If we love God and we love our fellow neighbors, you've done well. You really have. You've done well. So I want to thank today people watching. If you're hearing this for the first time, people watching, because some of you will be, you need to go back. There will be 2 more to define success. There's part 1, part 2, and part 3. You need to know that. And if you only listened to 2 out of the 3, you need to find out which one you're missing. It won't be today because you're hearing me right now. But you need to go and watch them all, because I think as you listen to these testimonies and what people shared, it's going to make a difference in your life. If you're looking for a good church, if you're near the Minnedosa area, we welcome you to come check out Valley Life Family Worship Center. We have a Sunday school going. After we have our time of praise and worship, we have a time of prayer and praise reports. Then we send the kids upstairs, and they have a snack, and they have another snack, and another snack. We feed them full of sugar, and then we give them back to the parents. That's what we do around here. And then they're all hyper. But they do have fun. They learn about Jesus upstairs. So if you have children, you want to bring them, come join us for worship. Then you can send your kids upstairs and have Sunday school for the kids. And in closing, our Kids Jam Ministry starts October 1st from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. If you're in grade 1 to the age of 12 years old, we find once they get after that age, they're just ready for youth. They really are. So you're welcome to come check it out. If you have any questions about our children's ministry, text me on the screen, phone me on the screen. I'll be more than glad to share more about that. So till next week, God bless you and have a great week. Bye for now.